Welcome to News with a View, hosted by me, John A. Costa. Today is January 14th, 2026. We're trying to do a simulcast between YouTube and Facebook today, seeing how that works out. I seem to be in excellent on YouTube, where my majority of members are. Also on rumble.com and Facebook at John A. Costa. Okay, today going to be an interesting day because I'm working off my computer instead of a printed script. I just have that to reference back to on yesterday if I misspoke on a subject, but I didn't. I was pretty good yesterday. Today we're going to be looking at more troubles for Tim Walz as the ball is rolling to impeach him. Now, I don't think that the Republicans can gather enough votes in the state of Minnesota in the legislation, legislators to do that. But it shows just how bad of a time Tim Walz is having in Minnesota with all the fraud, and we just know about the tip of the iceberg. A lot of this stuff is coming out in dribs and drabs, and Walz is painting it as a political hatchet job on him, and you can't deny that the fraud has been going on. It just can't be denied. So. The GOP state representative Tim Weiner announced he had filed articles of impeachment against Walz, citing corrupt conduct that helped conceal ongoing fraud by a group made up largely of Minnesota's Somalia immigration population. Now, there are others involved in the fraud. We know that. There's no doubt about that. And it's going to, go across the race barrier, the political barrier, because when you're talking about all that, the only color that matters is green. Green is all that matters. For those people that have not seen my podcast, I am a conservative. I will look at both sides of a picture, and if it's legal, when I say legal, constitutionally addressed, then there's no problem. If it was Biden exercising his constitutional powers, that was fine. I didn't have problem. I might have had problems with the politics of it, but of them actually doing it and trying to fight it in the courts, there's nothing to fight about. If a president has the authority under the Constitution, then that's it, folks. There's no argument about it. You could vote the president out. Come election time, you could vote the party out, and that's certainly allowed when it's done above board, which is extremely questionable in 2020. But Walz is having a very hard time of it, as he should. When he was running for vice president, he screamed about transparency and how he was an open book. And in the meantime, the DNC President Biden, Vice President Harris, they all knew that there was actual ongoing investigations by Merrick Garland, by the Biden administration, on the fraud that was taking place inside Minnesota. Yet they ran this guy anyway. And why was Tim Walz chosen? Other than the fact that no one else stepped up to the plate, was that they knew that this would be exposed and he would have to resign from the vice presidency. And then Harris could handpick whoever she wanted, be it Hillary Clinton, which I would really doubt because there was no love lost between those two, and Michelle Obama, who I think Michelle Obama was smarter than, oh, well, of course she's smarter than Harris. You know, a light bulb is smarter than Harris. No, a light bulb is brighter than Harris. Let me just put it that way. The truth of the whole Harris, and that will come out. Believe me, that's going to come out. Come 2028 election. You know how the DNC played everyone, and it was they were just lying. They were gaslighting all of us. And when I say all of us, I mean the American voters. I don't mean me. There was no way I was voting for Harris. There was no way that I would have voted for the Democrats. And I have voted for, Democrats. I voted for Bill Clinton. And would Hillary Clinton had run against Donald Trump originally, I probably, I'll take that back because I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. But had Biden had chosen Hillary Clinton as a running mate, when her turn to come up, I would have voted for her. But I just couldn't vote for her with the stuff that was going on and the nonsense. And like I said, I have voted Democrat. When I lived in New York, I voted for Schumer. I always voted for Republican judges, though. And at the time, I liked Chuck Schumer. He was able to walk down the middle of the aisle, and he knew how to get things done. He knew exactly who to go to, the yin and the yang. It's all about balancing things out. You need this, I have that. I have what you need, you have what I need. Let's swap. Let's negotiate here. The progressives, who have absolutely declared civil war inside the Democratic Party, and I blame the moderate Democrats for not standing up to them and tell them, hey, you want to do what you're saying you do? You start a third party. But you're not going to come onto this party and ruin our brand. And they didn't do that. They didn't do that. They chose to just really go out of their minds, go out of their way to shove their agenda down the American people. And it was the five percenters, you know, boys being allowed in girls' sports, boys being allowed to go into girls' bathrooms. You don't think that was all part of the LGBTQ NAMBLA agenda to pollute our value systems even more? Live birth abortions that the Democrats got out there and fought for. The Democrats were the party of family values, was the party of a strong, defensive United States, the party of making sure the American worker was protected. And they threw that all away. And it actually was done extremely quickly. In about 12 years, they threw that all out. And the Republicans got more conservative. And you have Donald Trump saying, hey, I want jobs here. I want people working. And the unions who fought Trump, who fought the Republican, and I sat on union boards and committees. And I go, listen, what these guys are saying, I understand, we're the oppressed workers. We're not the oppressed workers. We can change jobs whenever we want to. No one's saying, you start off life as a farmer and you end up as a farmer. That's not true. But what is true is that if we don't have the industries, we don't have the jobs. If we don't have the jobs, we don't have a union. What are you going to unionize? The unemployed? Gee, that happened before. Where did that happen? I'm going to say Nazi Germany. So you have to look at things and say, yes, in the short term, I can understand people going, oh, big business. Well, big business is who employs you. And if you're employed there, and it is so unjust there, you'll have no problem starting a union. And the company side is to tarnish the union. So they just want your, weekly pay. They want this. All the union does is protect the unproductive. So, it goes both ways. But you can't have a union unless you have an employer. And I remember when the Republicans were pushing out NAFTA, and that was a Republican-pushed legislation, even though Bill Clinton, who was forced into signing NAFTA, and people saying, no, that's good. How can it be good? It'd be good if Mexico at the time was paying their people $18 an hour, but they weren't. And big business moved across the border. Built cars there for, $4 a day, for employees. And there weren't the safety standards. They weren't in place protection. And NAFTA should never have even left the drawing board. But jobs were flowing out of here. You had India creating massive, massive jobs on the technical front. And industry here was the biggest culprit where, why should I spend $1 billion on an assembly line? Where I'm now going to have to fight with the unions about it. And, what am I going to do? Build this $1 billion facility and just bring over 60 or 80 of these union jobs where there were 800, they'll never allow me to do it. They'll shut me down. And instead of trying to work something out through, attrition, buyouts, and things like that, they just stuck to, we'll just do it your job is to put the lug on the wheels, and your job is to put the windshield in, and your job, and Toyota, or Datsun at the time, and was able to have these factories in Japan that used, 25 people to build a car, where it took us 120 people to build a car. And then they got it down even lower, and we couldn't compete. And our tariff system and things of that nature were just so skewed that, they could bring these cars in for $2,300, brand new car, and you were paying $4,800 for a Chrysler. Well, what were you going to drive if you just taking it to work every day? Yeah. And, that was the end. And that was Japan against us. And then you had India in the technology side. Their call centers, their data centers, their online help centers. And before India, a lot of that stuff was going into Ireland. Because it was cheaper to do it in Ireland than it was here. And then all of a sudden it became cheaper to do in India than it was in Ireland. And it was just rerouting that call that way. No big cost involved with it. And we saw what happened. People are talking about AI. What do you think is going to happen with AI? Now, I don't see AI as being, because AI has actually been around a very, very long time. What is the big thrust of AI is connectivity. We now have the infrastructure in place of connectivity. And it's very easy to communicate from here to there. And you don't actually need to have, these big computer systems in facilities anymore. Because I don't need a wire stretching, and all these wires going out. Now everything comes down one wire. That's why these companies went from 3G and 4G and 5G and everyone, bandwidth. Got to have a bandwidth. We got to remember, you can only get so much movement through a space. You need more movement through it. You need more throughput through it. Has to be bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Connectivity and the ease that I know that this machine will talk to that machine, and there'll be no problems in connectivity. And it's easy for companies to connect, whereas before that wasn't the case. They had to have people there, they had to have people doing it, and it was actually hard for them to do that and expensive. Now it's not. AI will work and it will take certain jobs away, but it won't take all the jobs away. Something to be concerned about. So we were talking about Walz and now being impeached. The Democrats are truly in a free fall. You had Schumer today speaking that it was a rough 2025 for us, but I know we're going to take the houses back in 2026. How? You haven't offered anything. The only thing you offered is Orange Man, Baby Trump, Epstein. The Democrats have done nothing and have presented the voters with nothing. And you just can't have that. You just can't have it. You must have a plan. And it has to be a sensible plan. And a plan that I say that is reasonable, meaning that you have built-in measures in there where if you can't achieve your goal right away, but you don't make that so high that it can never be obtained, and then you've done nothing. So you have to be flexible. You know, a plan can have inside plan A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, it all contained in A. The Democrats have not done that. What the Democrats have done is allowed the progressives to take over major cities that were, I mean, in disrepair anyway. I mean, New York City has been a cesspool for the last 40 years, and debt-ridden, and, you know, keep shoving money at it, and not addressing the problems and giving the money where it shouldn't go. You know, I mean, there was times that the subways were falling apart, and, you know, finally they had to fix the subways. But in the meantime, the MTA, you know, doubled the rates. Well, we have to get the money from somewhere. Well, you had all this money. What happened? Oh, we built a tunnel over to New Jersey, and now New Jersey doesn't want it. Well, then everyone at the MTA that was doing that should be fired. And Port Authority and everyone else should be fired. Because you didn't have a plan. The amount of fraud going on in these states. And why do you think they hated Elon Musk? Why do you think that all they did was criticize him and the people, and he's got 19-year-olds working for them? How dare him? Because the data doesn't care how old you are. All that happens is you have people that know how to extract the data in a means to present it. And the data's all there, but no one ever connected it. Oh, there were people that connected it, but believe me, you never hear from these people. And the amount of fraud, hey, you got X amount of dollars here, and this is what you're saying you had over here, and this is what moved over there. I can't reconcile it. How can this person be getting, you know, they're 96 years old and died 18 years ago, and they're still getting checks? And some of this money is going into multiple accounts. Going here, going there, going there. You got this one going to that state, and it's the same person, same tie back. And then, all these people, yeah. And why do you think Trump said I can fire them all? Because, and I don't have to ask for Senate approval. You're not doing your job. Because if you were doing your job, you'd know to look for these problems and not shove them under your desk. And that was in Republican administrations, and that was in Democrat administrations. And they were afraid of Elon Musk and giving him free rein because there was information in there that could be extracted and going, ooh, wasn't expecting that. And why do you think they were bad-mouthed? Now, the liberals loved RFK Jr. because he was like, stick it to him, go in there, fight for it, fight. And all of a sudden he gets in there and he's going, well, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. We're chasing this stuff you've been being told is wrong, and now everyone's up in arms. Now he's the enemy. And it was the same thing with Musk. It wasn't big business that was the enemy. It was the people sitting there that should have been protecting you from the big businesses. And then you had the people with their hands in your pocket in Minnesota, in Illinois, in Ohio. Today, what did they say? Allegedly $250 billion in fraud in California. Why do you think they were so afraid? Why do you think everyone was so afraid of Elon Musk and Doge? Why do you think? Do you think that was because he was going to do such a great job? Or was it because he was in the hen house seeing who was robbing it? Yeah, I'm going to go with the hen house theory. That the people in power, Republicans too, you look at all these NGOs. And remember all the people, the 200, 30 million people a day are going to die in the world because Trump stopped aid to them. What happened to that? What happened to that big threat? Yeah. Remember Zika? Everyone was going to have small-headed babies. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. No. What happened? Zika disappeared. Bird flu was going to kill us all. We need billions in research. You find a bird flu shot? The best one I loved was monkeypox. I mean, I'm not even on COVID yet. Do you see how we were getting ripped off and lied to? How'd that mask work for you? Oh, the mask didn't work, right? Oh, no, 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 no. You're wrong. You're an anti-vaxxer. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I just want to know what's going in me. We made all these companies put that on labels. Why can't I know what's going in me in something you're jabbing into my system that I can never get rid of? I could stop eating Mott's applesauce if I find that they're, putting bug heads in there, which they're not, that I know of. But I could stop and go to, and then that's the end of it. You jab me with something, I'm not so sure I'll ever get that out of me. So I'd like to know. And you had Democrats screaming to lock people up, arrest them, put them in special camps. We'll make them wear something to show that they're unvaccinated, so we know. Gee, what did you think? Maybe a nice star on my coat? That would have looked nice, huh, Democrats? You fooled no one. You fooled no one. And you're going to you paid the price. And you're going to pay it again in 2028, 2026. You're paying for your lies. Governor Hochul in New York, you're doomed. You're doomed. New York City Attorney General now, New York Attorney General Letitia, I married my father, James, is throwing her political weight behind New York City Mayor Mamdani in a simmering court battle over subsidized apartments in the city. There are companies that own huge blocks of buildings and apartments that control about 9,000 units. And that company has gone, filed for bankruptcy, and another company has come in, Summit Gold, had made a $450 million dollar offer to take those units away from the company that's currently in charge of that, Pinnacle Group. Now, the Pinnacle Group has done a terrible job, according to New York City, on housing violations and building codes and things, and has amassed $125 million in fines. The problem I have with the fines is some of these fines are ridiculous, and some of them are justifiable. Don't get me wrong. Some of these fines are justifiably, people shouldn't live in those type of conditions or have that ongoing condition. You buy a new boiler for a building, you could fix this stuff. You just didn't want to. So, fines are good because they kind of teach these, an individual, gee, did that hurt you? That's what the fine should be. If the fine is, $2, pay the $2, shut this guy up. But when you hit for $2 million, you're like, oh, how much would it cost to have repaired that? $600,000? Bring me the guy that didn't want to do that and didn't present it in a manner that should have been done this way. So what happens now is New York State and New York City are fighting in the bankruptcy court, or at least trying to halt the sale of assets. I don't think they'll be successful. But what they can do is tear up the road and make it bumpy for the Summit Group to the point where Summit goes, hey, listen, we realize there's these $125 million worth of fines outstanding. The company filed for bankruptcy, and theoretically they go away. But let's just say you eliminate those fines as we start going in there and making the repairs. That, we'll take $80 million, set it aside to make repairs. And we'll report to you monthly on the repair progress and the money we're spending to do it and the contractors we're using. That could be the pressure being put on by New York City to this group, which is all right. That's, part of doing business in New York, asked Donald Trump. So, but if it is so New York can make a bid against this and then control 9,000 units to say who gets rent control, who doesn't, who gets this, who gets protected, who doesn't, yeah. That's communism. That's not even socialism, that's communism. And this is where the Democrats are going to in a lot of these big cities, because they're just so broke and so badly run that, the state or the city is going to be the Lord and Master. Because if people are living in welfare, you can't get money out of them. They're living there, Section 8, whatever, What they're paying is what they're paying. And if the rent never goes up, yet oil goes up, that's fueling, and they go, well, we want them to go on, solar. Well, still has to put solar. There's only so much open spots you could do. What's your answer? And I'll tell you right now, it's always cheaper for the private sector to run these things than it is a government institution. Because with government institution, you already know this fraud. It's built into the system, folks. So let's not kid around with that. I think the 2026 is going to be just reeling around all the fraud in these states. And a lot of these people that are running are keeping very quiet on both sides. And you see a lot of people go, I'm not going to run for office this year. I'm not going to run for re-election. Yeah. Getting out of Dodge. The only problem is with these people that have been in office for such a long time, and if you're in the system for that long, you're there to hide, cover your tracks. After a while, you have to cover your tracks. Someone's going to question what you did, how you did it, and you're not going to be able to answer it. And this is a problem that will go on for a long time. And it always has been. You read some of the things where, in the 1790s, they were complaining about a president buying, this wine and charging the government for it. And I mean, this is always the case. There's always fraud going on. There's someone that has a pocket out. that's ready to be reached into willingly. I think the problem for the Democrats is mounting. I think people are going to go, yeah, Epstein, yeah, okay, but what's going on over here with all this money? Maybe if we had some of that money, I wouldn't be paying, $800 a month for health care. Maybe I could be $200 a month or $300 a month. Why is this going on? Why do I have to pay for someone's education that they took a loan out for and now they don't want to repay it? Why am I stuck with that? And, if you wanted true benefits of education like that, where it was paid, you want to become a doctor, that's fine. You're going to do this, this, and this, and we'll make the loan forgivable, but you got to work 10 years over here. Just on weekends or, Wednesdays. And those hospitals or clinics where, you're going to be working at, we're going to cover your insurance costs and everything too. But you're going to give your time up. No free lunch. Unless you want to pay your own way. You want to pay your own way? Great. The school wants to give you a private loan for it? Let them give you a private loan for it. But if you ask us for it, this is what it has to be. Basically, that's what's going on in the news today. There's a lot more going on. I'm just going to take a quick peek at some of the news trending. And some of it's junk, New York's governor will push for state lawsuits against ICE agents. So, you have these states that are now, you're going to have the Democrats jumping onto ICE. And what are they saying? What are these states actually saying? We're not going to follow federal law. We're not going to follow policies on immigration. And I said in my other podcast the other day, the Democrats were very good at what they did. They made it so that it's almost impossible to approach someone without violating their Fourth Amendment rights, which everyone in the United States, here legally or illegally, is entitled to. So you make it so probable cause. So your probable cause is they're speaking Spanish. And they go, that's racist. That's profiling. Well, what else can we do? How else are we going to identify people we have no idea are here? Or we can't track them. We don't know where they are. Except by asking them. And when I am sure that an employer, we're looking for an Escobar, and here's an Escobar, and we go there, are you, Julio Escobar? And they go, well, you can't ask him that. We can't give you that information. That's private. That's, you make it impossible. They're making it impossible to get these people. Very clever. But I think that the law is going to say we have laws on the books in 1790 that are still on the books. And they're going to say, oh, they're outdated. Well, There's Congress. There's the Senate. Go have at it. But until that's done, we're going to enforce it. And they hide. It is a shame which is going on. And it is truly unforgivable on what the Democrats are doing. Instead of solving the problem, they're making it worse. Instead of fixing a situation that they created, from Obama to Biden, they created this mess. And they allowed it. The people of America voted for Trump, who said, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to toss people out that shouldn't be here. And he was elected. And now you want to undo my vote. All right? Game on. You're going to see what happens to you in 2026. The Democrats are not going to have a party anymore. Their party's falling apart. They're not getting financial support. They are all bedoomed. And it will be an ugly death. All right, with that, I'm going to leave you. I've been talking here almost an hour now, I think. Well, 45 minutes. 42 minutes and 39 seconds and clicking. Also, I did put up yesterday on my podcast, rest in peace, Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert. A remarkable individual, not only in his creative work, but in his life's work. And his just common sense approach on things and how to really fix yourself. A shout out to anyone that knew Scott Adams and knew what was going on with him. He died of metastatic prostate cancer. He fought it hard. If you watched his podcasts and stuff, which I did, he went hard. But he fought it and faced the reality of it as best as people can face reality on what's going on with them. So, with that, a little tribute to Scott Adams. I'll have more because he's really a very influential person. So, it is something that should be looked at, and Scott Adams was a brilliant, brilliant person and an influencer, like I said. You read his books, Reframe Your Brain is a great book. I have it. I haven't read it. I just read sections of it online. But it's a very good book. Very good book. A lot of common sense things in there that, you kind of forget because you're tilted. And you have to come back and look at it from a different angle. All right, with that, I'm going to say good night. If you can give to a charity, please give to a charity. If you're not comfortable with that, I can understand that. Please give to a local food bank. Food is wonderful. Money's even better for them because they could directly use that for where they need it that day. There's plenty of food banks that you can go around to, run by clergy, run by private enterprises, but are above board. And it goes to your community. That's what I like about it. It goes right into your community. Say a prayer. Prayer does work, regardless of what a Democrat might tell you. and everyone be safe. Hug the people around you. And I will have the edited show of this, where I put all my little comments right up over here. And because this one, I'm doing a simulcast live to YouTube and Facebook at the same time. First time I've done that in a while. And I'm seeing some streaming errors, but you could always catch it on my playlist, which will be the edited show. And my videos and stuff will be the edited. So they'll be nice and clean because they're being recorded on my switcher, which I had to fix yesterday. All right, all be well, be good. Chris Rowan. I know Sammy doesn't watch. Joey's too busy. And anyone else that's watching me, Cannoli, when he would tell you what that's about. But we'll catch you later as I fade to